She walked past us like she didn't belong on the same planet. Immaculate charcoal suit, heels that didn't wobble once, perfume like winter air in a glass tower. She didn't glance at anyone until she collapsed. I didn't know her name, but something about her felt familiar. Not like déjà vu, like gravity. If you've ever believed that one act of kindness can change everything, or that strangers are often connected in ways we can't begin to understand, then you're in the right place. Go ahead and like this video and subscribe, because what you're about to hear isn't just a story. It's proof that even in your darkest hour, someone might already be looking for you. Marcus Thompson adjusted his pressed blue shirt for the third time that morning, watching his own anxious reflection in the airport window. It was 6:12 a.m. at Phoenix Sky Harbor, and American Airlines Flight 2847 was boarding in 10 minutes. The terminal buzzed with early morning energy, sleepy parents, noisy toddlers, business travelers clacking on laptop keyboards. But for Marcus, everything had narrowed to two things: the duffel bag at his feet and the tiny girl holding his hand. Maya, just 8 years old, wore pink sneakers that lit up when she walked and clutched a threadbare teddy bear to her chest like a life raft. He squeezed her fingers gently, tried to smile. "You excited to see New York?" She looked up at him with wide brown eyes. "Is Mommy meeting us there?" Marcus's throat tightened, and the practiced lie sat heavy on the tip of his tongue. "Not this time, sweetheart," he said quietly, kneeling to fix a loose strap on her backpack. "But she'd be proud of you. I promise." $15,000. That was the number folded into crisp bills inside the leather wallet tucked against his chest like armor. His entire savings, overtime pay, second mortgage, even Sarah's piano sold for half its value to a stranger who smelled like cigarettes and regret. All of it was for Maya's surgery in New York, a last-ditch cardiac procedure no one in Arizona would touch. He couldn't afford the whole thing. Insurance wouldn't cover even half. But Dr. Richardson at Mount Sinai had offered one thing no one else had: a sliver of hope. They boarded in silence. Marcus buckled Maya into seat 23B and took the aisle beside her. Maya leaned against him, bear in hand, and gazed out the tiny oval window at the sleepy runway. Her legs dangled off the seat like they didn't quite belong to her body. 37,000 feet up, the plane stabilized into its cruising altitude. The beverage cart clinked in the aisle, passengers dozed or scrolled their phones, and for the first time in weeks, Marcus allowed himself to exhale. He reached for the wallet again, counting the money for the sixth time that morning. 15,000. Still there, as if checking could make it multiply. And that's when the scream came. It was sharp and sudden, rising above the dull engine hum and rustling newspapers. From first class, a blonde woman had collapsed between the rows. Maybe seat 2A, he couldn't be sure. Her body twitched violently on the carpeted floor, and flight attendants rushed toward her with panic flickering just beneath their professionalism. Marcus didn't hesitate. He gently moved Maya's sleepy form against the window and stood. "Watch her," he murmured to the businessman across the aisle. He pushed past startled passengers, his feet already calculating where to kneel. Years of paramedic training surged to the surface, like instinct more than memory. The woman's breathing was shallow and erratic, her skin flushed, her expensive watch twisted awkwardly against her wrist. She was beautiful in a way Marcus didn't often notice anymore. Delicate jaw, neat hair, lipstick faded from some earlier meeting. And then he saw the scar, barely visible, running along the inside of her wrist, a surgical mark. The kind you don't forget when your wife carried the same one through years of chemotherapy. "Her pulse is racing," he told the stewardess. "We need oxygen." She's not seizing anymore, but she could aspirate. The woman's eyes fluttered open. For a second, they locked with his, pale blue, too alert for someone who'd just lost consciousness. She looked scared, yes, but more than that, she looked like someone who recognized something. Like someone who didn't expect to be saved. "Thank you," she whispered. Her voice almost clipped. East Coast, educated. "I didn't. I thought I had more time." He didn't know what she meant. He didn't ask. He was too busy saving her. Eventually, the cabin crew took over. She was conscious, coherent, but shaken. Victoria Sterling. That was her name. She gave it without hesitation. Even joked faintly about the irony of having a sterling reputation and a defective heart. Marcus returned to his seat with hands that wouldn't stop shaking. Maya was awake now, eyes wide. Is the lady okay? She asked. She will be, he said, hoping it was true. But he couldn't shake the look the woman had given him. With a scar, with a strange sense that this wasn't a chance encounter. It was something else. Like Sarah had whispered a secret into the universe 3 years ago, and now it was finally arriving. Flight 2847 cruised on toward New York, but the trajectory of Marcus's life had already veered off course. And the woman in seat 2A? She wasn't done with him yet. 3 days had passed since the flight, but Marcus hadn't slept more than 6 consecutive minutes. Hotel walls too thin, Maya's cough sounding worse at night, and the quiet knowledge that $15,000 didn't go as far as it should in New York City. He sat in the pediatric cardiology wing of Mount Sinai, watching Maya color ducks on a clipboard while he fought with insurance over a Bluetooth headset that kept cutting out. No, I already submitted the paperwork, he said, pacing. Yes, out of network. Because no one in our network will touch this procedure. Because she'll die. The words tasted bitter every time he said them. He caught Maya's glance. She was pretending not to listen. But her teddy bear was clutched too tight, and her coloring had gone from yellow ducklings to hard-pressed black scribbles. Fine, he snapped. Call me back. Or don't. We'll be here, waiting to drown in bureaucracy. He hung up and slumped onto the bench. For a second, he just breathed. Then he heard heels. Quiet ones, but purposeful, clicking through the corridor like they belonged there. He looked up, and there she was, Victoria Sterling. No business suit this time, just jeans, low heels, and a soft sweater the color of cream. Her hair was tied back casually, her posture looser. She still looked expensive, but less like a Wall Street thunderstorm and more like someone's favorite aunt. For a moment, neither of them said anything. Then she smiled, tight but real. Mr. Thompson, she said, I thought I might run into you here. Marcus stood slowly. How did you know Maya's name? She looked down, embarrassed, almost. I asked around. Then, more direct. I had someone look into you. Every defense in Marcus's body lit up. He straightened his shoulders, the old fire station posture returning like a shield. You investigated us? Victoria nodded. Yes, I did. And then, as if sensing she needed to anchor her honesty before it drifted into offense, she looked past him, right at Maya, who was now watching openly. Pin paused mid-doodle. Victoria's gaze softened. She knelt. Hello, Maya. I'm really glad to see you're doing okay. Maya blinked. You're the lady from the airplane, she said, and smiled. Daddy saved you. Victoria smiled back, this time fully. Her eyes shimmered, just for a moment. Yes, he did. Then, standing again, she turned to Marcus. Can we talk somewhere private? They stepped into a small waiting alcove with green chairs and overpriced vending machines. Maya followed with her coloring book, settling at a corner table without protest. I want to be honest with you, Victoria began, fiddling with something on her wrist. A ring, Marcus noticed. The reason I found you wasn't just gratitude. 3 years ago, I lost my son. Marcus froze. He was 16. Car accident. I was in a boardroom, chasing a merger that didn't matter, and I missed the call. By the time I got to the hospital, he was gone. Her voice didn't crack, but her fingers trembled. I spent every day after trying to make that mean something. Then, on that flight, when I woke up, and you were there, calm, focused, kind, I felt like I'd seen a ghost. She reached into her bag and pulled out a photo. A teenage boy, grinning, frail, wires around his chest. A nurse in the background, smiling, young, her hair tied in a red bandana. It was Sarah. Marcus's breath caught. She was his nurse, Victoria said. David, my son, was at Phoenix Children's for his final weeks. Sarah used to talk about you. Her husband, the paramedic, her little girl who loved to draw. He took the photo with trembling hands. Sarah's face, tired but shining. She hadn't told him. She'd never brought home David's name, his story, his mother's grief. She made his last days bearable, Victoria whispered. And before she left that hospital for the last time, she said something to me. She said, if anything ever happens to me, promise me you'll look out for my husband and daughter. Marcus felt the world tilt. Sarah asked you to look after us? Victoria nodded, her voice cracking now. I didn't even know where to begin. Then I saw you on that plane. And I knew. Silence settled. Thick with grief. Thick with the strange warmth of being remembered long after someone was gone. I want to pay for Maya's surgery, Victoria said suddenly. Not out of pity. Because I need to. Because Sarah asked me to. Because I can. Marcus was already shaking his head. No. No, we can't. Marcus, she said, stepping closer. I've spent millions building things that don't matter. This does. Let me do it. He looked past her to Maya, who had fallen asleep mid-drawing, her head resting on the paper. How do I know this isn't guilt? He asked quietly. Or some way to feel better about your son? Victoria's eyes didn't flinch. It is guilt, and grief, and maybe redemption. But it's also the promise I made to a nurse who held my son's hand when I couldn't. Marcus felt something break in him. Not badly, but like a dam giving way to something long buried. He didn't say yes. Not then. But he didn't say no either. He just nodded and whispered, okay. And for the first time in a long time, he felt like maybe things were going to be okay, too. Marcus sat alone in the hospital corridor, staring at the clock above the double doors. 9:12 a.m. surgery had started at 7. Maya's favorite teddy bear rested in his lap, worn and faded, the seams loose in places he'd promised to sew for weeks, but never found the time. His hands kept fidgeting with it, as if the bear could tether him to something solid. Victoria was there, too. Not hovering, just present, sitting a few chairs away, sipping lukewarm coffee from a vending machine cup like it was the finest thing she'd ever had. She hadn't said much since they arrived that morning, and she didn't need to. Her presence was its own kind of language, one Marcus had come to understand without words. Maya had smiled at both of them as they wheeled her into the OR, lifting her hand and saying, "See you on the other side, Daddy." And Aunt Vicky. The nickname had come out of nowhere. Victoria had teared up immediately. She'd never asked for that kind of closeness. But Maya, blunt, intuitive, 8 years old, had offered it freely. That's how kids worked. They skipped the walls adults took years to build. At 9:26, Dr. Richardson pushed open the double doors. He was smiling. "She's strong," he said simply. "The surgery went better than expected. She'll be groggy, but you'll both see her soon." Marcus exhaled so sharply it felt like collapsing. His hands covered his face. And next to him, Victoria didn't say anything. She just reached over, gently touched his arm. It was the first time since Sarah's death that someone had been there in that moment when the fear lifted. 2 weeks later, Maya was up and walking again, slowly, carefully, but with that same determined spark. Marcus couldn't stop watching her breathe. It sounded different now, cleaner, stronger, like the weight had lifted from her tiny chest. And Victoria? She didn't disappear. In fact, she stayed in Phoenix long after the surgery, helped Marcus navigate follow-ups, worked quietly behind the scenes to set up something new, something bigger. A foundation, one named after her son David. It would help families like theirs, first responders, single parents, anyone crushed by medical costs that didn't make sense. And she wanted Marcus to run it. "You know what it's like," she said. "You understand the fight. That makes you the heart of this." He didn't say yes right away. But in time, he realized this wasn't just her way of giving back. It was his way forward. Months passed. The pain softened but didn't vanish. Sarah's voice still echoed in certain songs. Maya still asked hard questions at bedtime. But now there was something else. A sense that their story, his, Maya's, even Victoria's, had taken the worst of what life gave and turned it into something redemptive. On the wall of the new foundation office hung a photograph Maya had drawn. 3 figures beneath a bright blue sky. 1 tall man, 1 elegant woman, 1 small girl. And above them, sketched in pale pencil and tiny wings, floated a 4th figure. "That's Mommy," Maya said matter-of-factly. "She's the one who helped you both find each other." Victoria smiled quietly, her eyes shining with something deeper than tears. Marcus nodded. "Yeah, kiddo," he said. "I think she really did." And somehow, they all believed it.